All right. Well, welcome everybody. This is the Clinical Consultation Network, of course. You can join us every Tuesday at 12:30 Central Standard Time. Actually, it's Central Daylight Savings Time now. We just we just sprang forward. And so today we have a great guest with us, Rapid SOS 911 Emergency Health Profile. Patrice Coleman is going to be our presenter today. She's the training and QA manager for Rapid SOS and the Nashville Department of Emergency Communications. So we're going to welcome Patrice here in just a moment, but we're very glad to have her as our guest today. Coming up next week, March 21st, we've got John Quill Newland, Tennessee Commission on Children and Youth, who will be here with us on March 28th. Our NAD collaboration, our fourth Tuesday NAD feature. Well, I'm getting that right now, Babs. I'm not trying to say Thursday anymore instead of Tuesday. But our NAD collaboration, we're going to have Dan Baker here to talk to us about mental wellness. Dan is former president of the NAD organization. He's written several books on mental wellness, and he is going to be here to talk to us next week. So we're very excited to have him, or I say in 2 weeks from today. And we're very excited to have him as our fourth Tuesday feature. So with that, let's welcome today's guest, Patrice Coleman.
Thanks for having me here today.
Patrice, we're so happy to have you here today. Why don't you start out by just telling us a little bit about yourself?
So, yes, of course. So I've been in public safety communications for 21 years. I tell the story that I started when I was a baby, literally. But I've been in public safety communications for 21 years, all served with the same agency, that's Metro Nashville Department of Emergency Communications. So here I'm the training and quality assurance manager. Just making sure that we're looking for new technologies that help us enhance the services that we provide for the public when it comes to 911 services. Also, a couple of things that I do in our profession. I work with or volunteer with two of our national, what we call our national bodies. They set our best practices and standards for the 911 community, and those are APCO and NENA. APCO is the Association of Public Safety Communications Officials, and it's our oldest body for governing or setting best practices and standards for 911. And then NENA, that's the National Emergency Number Association. So both bodies work hand in hand. I do volunteer work for them. I serve on our Tennessee State APCO board as the second vice president and work in committees with both of the national bodies. Also serve and work on Nashville's Office of Family Safety Strangulation Committee, a representative for my department there, doing great work within Nashville. And so that's just a little bit about me. Aside from work, my biggest accomplishment is, I say, is being a mother and a wife and a GG. So my family is by far most important. I give 110% to my job, to my career, and to the people we serve in Nashville and the citizens of Nashville and tourists of Nashville, and to my team, and then my family. I absolutely love family time. So that's a little bit about me.
That's great. And I think your devotion to all of this is really, really important. And you've got quite a resume there of different experiences that you've had. So I'm very glad to have you as a guest today. So you want to tell us a little bit about Rapid SOS?
Okay, yes. So Rapid SOS is established or founded in 2012. Actually, one of the founders had a medical incident and had knowledge of how to start this technological platform. So what Rapid SOS does It's a portal, basically. It's a technology platform that allows 911 to pinpoint where callers are. Initially, when we started here in Nashville with Rapid SOS, it was limited to certain callers. That was because of just the Rapid SOS platform. And at that particular time, it was iPhone callers. And then because you had to be able to receive text and do voice at the same time, basically go back and forth. And so initially, Android users were brought on, and so this is a platform that everybody can use. And Rapid SOS basically was a lifesaver for Nashville on Christmas, the Christmas Day bombing. Again, what it allows is for us to pinpoint the operators to pinpoint where a caller is. Basically, gives a little pin drop. It shows that person moving for a certain amount of time before the information goes away. And this, of course, is from cell phones.
So the user of Rapid SOS has a cell phone with them, and as such is able to be tracked wherever they are at a given point in time. Am I understanding that correctly?
That is if they dial 911.
Okay.
And yeah, so that's if they dial 911. Here in Davidson County, we have Rapid SOS. All agencies don't use Rapid SOS, so it just depends on what county that you're in. But here in Davidson County, we do have Rapid SOS. Our center uses Rapid SOS, and so if your cell phone dials 911 and it comes through a Rapid SOS portal, pinpoint you on a map, um, for the call taker, the operator, telecommunicator to be able to have that additional information as to where your location is if you can't speak. As always, we want voice to be number one, communicating, verbally regarding where you are. But if not, um, Rapid SOS, provides some information as to where you may be.
So if a person were lost, as an example, they could potentially dial into this, or would that be an appropriate use of the service, or would it need to be something more emergency oriented?
So let me clarify. So if they're laws as far as like out in, because we have some big parks, so I like to use those as one. So say for instance they're out lost in a park, and they need to dial 911 because they are lost, and they need responders to help them get out of the park. So Rapid SOS would they calling in on their cell phone. Rapid SOS would pinpoint that area of where where they are.
Okay.
And I'll add just an additional caveat with that. The caller sees nothing on their end. This is all back in on our side. It's nothing different. They don't know, that their information is coming through a Rapid SOS portal. It's just that we use that technology here in Nashville.
It's actually something that is purchased by the local police department. It's, I mean, so you have to have that in your local community in order to be able to utilize it or to put more information in there. Am I understanding it correctly?
That's correct, and you can check with depending on what community you're in and what 911 center we call them emergency communication center, what center covers you. Definitely you see if it's Rapid SOS, and then of course the emergency profile that connects. But wherever you are, Rapid SOS covers a broad area. They cover over 5,000, if I'm not mistaken, agencies within the U.S. that use Rapid SOS.
Wow. And each day, I understand as you had in your intro that there are 600,000 calls placed to 911. That's a tremendous number. Um, and so this is with Rapid SOS, we're moving into though a new territory with these 911 calls, really where you're able to identify a location, but also other information that you're able to provide through this emergency health profile?
That's absolutely correct, Bruce. So, uh, if you all don't know, the infrastructure that was established for 911 is basically it's almost obsolete. So there are technological advances that come to us almost, I shouldn't say every day, but I mean, there are a lot out there. And of course, and we have to keep up and making sure that we provide the best service that we can provide to callers needing help. Again, that voice, that's always the preference, but we know, there are times when people cannot communicate. So with Rapid SOS, as like I said, we have here, it was a lifesaver on the Christmas Day bombing. And during COVID, the founders of Rapid SOS extended, and they also have supporters, the American Heart Association, um, and some other supporters to come up with the emergency health profile. And so basically, if you join or sign up for the emergency health profile in a situation where you're not able to communicate, you're not unable to communicate and you may be alone, and your phone, you happen to dial 911. So that telecommunicator would see that information that, hey, and you can share as much or as little, because basically the emergency health profile is exactly what it says it is. It's like filling out, your medical history, except it's for when you call 911. And so again, you can share as little or as much as you would like to about your medical history, something about, something that this is the reason why I may be not communicating. I can't communicate right now. Um, and we've had calls like that. You can identify your specific unit number, apartment number, which is very important if you're in a complex. So if you're in an apartment complex or some type of condominium complex, any type of area where it is not just, I'll say, multi-residential. So, you're not in a single residential place. Your home divided by, a lot, and then there's another home, but you're in some type of complex. It is vital to know where in that complex you're located. And so with emergency health profile, you can put that. And so just an example of when you call in, if you're not able to communicate without that emergency profile, it gives a generic, just a broad area of where you are, what complex. With the emergency health profile, you can specifically put in unit 200 or, whatever your unit number is. And that would give the telecommunicator a clue as to, hey, they're not communicating. This is what their profile says to, go to unit, they live in unit 200.
Is there any concern about privacy with this information that people are, as you're sharing that, how is the privacy of your information protected if you do an emergency health profile?
So good question, because we all today are, concerned about our privacy. And that's probably the number one question, what about our privacy? So Rapid SOS, on the backside, they have a privacy, I'm sorry, privacy form, and you can go read their privacy agreement. As far as the information that comes into the 911 center, is only available if you dial 911. And that information only stays with us about 20 minutes. So approximately 20 to 25 minutes, and that information disappears. We never see that information in the center unless a caller dials 911. And then we have that information, that information is available to us. And it helps the telecommunicator make a decision on, hey, this could possibly be a medical situation, and I may need to go ahead and start an ambulance, because their profile says, they deal with, it could be a range of things. Epilepsy is one that we see, and we've had saves on this. Our most recent I can think of, just right off, was in October. So
Where you mean a circumstance where you had someone call and they had a seizure disorder and you were able to,
Yeah, so we had a caller that had a medical condition and they were unable to communicate, but you could clearly hear that the caller was on the line. They had their emergency health profile. It identified what medical situation they had. It identified what their unit number was, and they never communicated because they could not. But they communicated by creating the emergency health profile just in case they had that situation, and they did. And for that reason, the telecommunicator had that information available. They were able to make a decision based upon the information received, and that person was indeed in a medical crisis.
previously I had worked with a system called Smart 911. Does that dovetail at all with this, or is that a different system, or how does that operate?
So they're kind of two different things, but basically the same concept, if that makes sense. Smart 911 is different, but previously we've had some Smart 911. They're the same concept, emergency health profile. It's the same concept. It's just that emergency health profile now is encapsulated in Rapid SOS.
I say it's so would some systems, some law enforcement departments have Smart 911 and other ones have Rapid SOS? Is that how it works, or is it something different than that?
Yeah, so one thing about emergency communication centers, we're not all created the same. It depends on the size of the community, the needs of that community. Of course, it's different things that determine, what each center has. So I'll speak to here in Davidson County. We are what we call one-stop shop. There's only one 911 center in Nashville, Davidson County that covers all of Nashville and Davidson County. And so here, we do have Rapid SOS. And like I said, a lot of centers across the country have Rapid SOS. So that that's what I could speak to what we have here. But then different centers, depending on their needs, will have different things.
Okay. And if you are in another area where Rapid, if you have registered your information through Rapid SOS, let's say, and so you've got your emergency health profile in there, and you travel to Cincinnati, and they have Rapid SOS, is your information going to be available in Cincinnati to them, or is that going to be just to your local police department?
No, so as long as that you sign up for the emergency health profile, that goes with you. If you connect with a center, and that's a good question, if you connect with a center that has Rapid SOS, it recognizes that you have a profile to send. Now, if you were in Cincinnati and you're from Nashville, of course, they'll realize, hey, this person's not in Nashville. And they would go with their primary, that their primary resource for determining the location of the caller, and then use that information if deemed necessary, use information they have to assist.
I got you. So is there like a limit to the information you should share in an emergency health profile? I mean, how much information essentially should you share?
I leave that to the person building the profile. I say again, as much as you want to share, or as little as you want to share. But um, this is just saying, if again, a reminder, if you were in a situation where you could not communicate, if you dial 911 and for some reason between the connection of that call and you speaking and something happened where you couldn't speak, what information would you want that 911 operator to know? We talk about that golden hour. Do you have some type of medical condition that, hey, that golden hour matters? Um, if that's cardiac or neurological, what do what conditions do you have? And so that has to be, on the person making the profile. How much do I want to share? How much, if I were in this situation, would I want, the 911 center to know this so they can make a better decision? Because this is all about making a better decision. Make a better decision and a more appropriate decision on what resources to send.
Anybody out in our audience here today has encountered some difficulties with 911 calls and how they might see this service being useful to them out there, or if anybody perhaps is using this service and has entered an emergency health profile. I don't know if anybody's willing to talk about that a little bit, confidentially speaking. Um, if you are, please let us know in the chat, or just come off mute and talk to us about it. But I would just like to ask the group generally, if you have a condition or you know of someone that you're supporting, someone that may deem that may be unable to communicate, would this be a good service for you? Would you like for the public safety telecommunicator to have more information and make more informed decisions regarding your response? I would guess that most people would answer yes to that, but if anybody has a different answer, I'm certainly interested to hear more about that.
Bruce, I have some input and some questions
please.
regarding it. This is
Jump.
Joan Jenkins. Patrice, thank you so much for coming on and explaining this. A couple questions I have, because these questions have come up during behavioral health advisory board meetings. I facilitate Blue Care's behavioral health advisory board meetings, and one thing that was brought up was the Yellow Dot program. So when you mentioned that golden hour, that definitely resonated with me, because we had a presentation on Yellow Dot, because there was a member who was using it and said it was a wonderful program. And being the behavioral advisory board, there were people that had interest in being able to disclose that information in their Yellow Dot folder in the event that they were involved in an incident on the highways, so that first responders would know perhaps if they had anxiety disorder. They might be out of their car, walking around, pacing, and that they would understand when they got there that perhaps that the incident they just encountered exacerbated that in some way. Or if there was some other type of mental health challenge, so that when first responders got there, they would know that this person has a mental health challenge, and to better understand why they might be or might not be responding in a certain way. But we found out, of course, that that is something that is regulated, that it was by state law. And we did not go down that path of trying to see if we needed to move further, because it would involve advocacy and changing the law and things like this. But I am interested to know if the program you're talking about now, is there any correlation between that and Yellow Dot? And also, because we did bring up Smart 911, and I wasn't really able to find any information to tell people exactly how they needed to go about signing up for Smart 911, because I knew that was a program that was in the past. But we were just trying to find out, were there things out there that could help people if they did have a mental health challenge, or if they had a disability, where they wanted to be able to make sure that if first responders came to them, or if they were on the highway, or if they came to their home, that they would have a better understanding of what that person might be experiencing, so that they could serve them better. And then also, is there any kind of correlation between crisis services, or of course, we don't have CIT per se in Nashville, but we do have crisis services. And so just wondering if in certain situations, if they put down that they might need that kind of help, when they place that call to 911, would they then have an officer come out who understands how to respond in crisis situations, mental health crisis situations?
Okay. So definitely a good question. I don't know about Yellow Dot, so I would say, that's one maybe we have to come back to, and I have to find out information. Um, I don't know, and I don't think so. I'll just say I don't think so. This is in all of the stuff we have. I don't see anything in correlation to yellow dot. So I'll just say that. Now, speaking of responses for those with mental health issues, and so Nashville, we have a co-response, which is called Partners in Care for the police side, for the police department. And then the fire department just initiated and started this past month a program called Reach. And so it's their uh, response to mental health issues, for nonviolent people experiencing mental health issues. Now, if that's something that a caller feels comfortable sharing, I say, that would be something to share because that's just another piece of information that telecommunicator could pass along to the responder. Hey, I don't have voice contact with this person. I can tell somebody's on the phone, or it may be noises, it may be something, but or they are not, or they are communicating, improperly. And so what seems to be, improper, maybe not, the communication is not fluid back and forth, and then that information would be available to, hey, they may be suffering for this, they may be, in a crisis, they have this particular condition. So again, just as much as that person feels comfortable with sharing. But I say anything that would create a better response, to that when you're having a 911 emergency. What creates a better response if for some reason you could not have a conversation um, in a lucid state, or just period, you could not have that conversation with that 911 telecommunicator, the public safety telecommunicator. What would you want them to know to make sure that your response is what you need?
Okay, that's excellent. By the way, Patrice, while we were speaking, Janine Hunt looked it up, and you are actually number 201. So,
Oh,
so we did number 200 last week without realizing it, but we're going to celebrate it as if you're number 200 today.
okay, that sounds good. Number 200.
All right. So, well, this is a really important service. I think it would benefit. It seems like it would benefit a lot of the people that we serve for some of the same reasons that Joan was bringing up here about different sorts of scenarios that people have, because we certainly have a lot of people with different sorts of medical conditions, but also one of the more frequent reasons that people are called is because of mental health crises that people are experiencing. And so, do you have any examples of circumstances where that's the emergency health profile's been used effectively for people with mental health issues, or circumstances where that has been a useful tool?
I don't actually. I don't have any examples of that. And of course, we know, people are very hesitant at times to share
Yeah.
mental health conditions. And to Miss Joan, I will say, outside of my everyday professional life and my volunteer life, I'm a big mental health advocate. So this is something that I would say in the community that I do my volunteer work, that I would say, hey, this is a profile that you can use if you have a mental health condition. So that is, I spend a lot of time volunteering for. I'm very passionate about mental wellness, and I serve on the American Foundation of Suicide Prevention. Actually serve on their state board and the state chair for the education committee. So I would say this resource is a good resource because
Am
it
I, under,
allows.
am I understanding from what you're saying, Patrice, that it hasn't been used that much for this purpose, for communicating about mental health concerns?
Yeah, I don't have an example with me today, that I can say this was used for somebody who could not communicate there and they were having a mental health crisis. So the latest example I have, and the examples we have been, other medical conditions, but not specifically, mental health related.
Do you see any concerns? I mean, maybe it goes back to this privacy thing, but do you see that people have concerns about putting their mental health information on there just because of the perceived stigma associated with that, or is that the barrier, or is there something else maybe that's preventing people from wanting to sign up for this service?
I would say it's the perceived stigma or the stigma there is around, mental health.
Yeah,
Conversation. We know there's still stigma that we're, working very hard to break down that barrier and just have people, realize that mental illness is, I mean, it's a medical condition just like any other medical condition. But at the same time, I can also see where callers just say, for instance, if they can talk and your information comes through if you're able to communicate or not. If you dial 911 and they're dialing 911 about a totally different situation, and then their profile populates to say, hey, I have X,
yeah.
XYZ. So,
It might cause the 911 folks to focus on something that's not relevant to the situation if it were for a different reason that you were calling 911 besides yourself.
and we hope not, um, we train not,
Yeah,
uh, definitely there's no, you have to take, the telecommunications are trained, you have to take what is happening on this day right now. Now, if you only the information that comes in through the profile is only used if it pertains to the situation that you're dealing with. So our telecommunicators, like I said, they are professionals. They're trained, and they know what's relevant to the situation and what's not. So
I got you. I'm interested to find out from our audience how many people knew that this was even an option. Could you just kind of respond in the chat with regard to whether you had ever heard of this rapid SOS service before? I'm getting some people saying they had, getting some yeses and some nos. Quite a few I have never heard of it, so this is good that we're doing this today.
We did just get a how do you sign up. Patrice, do you want to share the website and let people see what it looks like?
yeah, that'll be great.
Mostly no's out there, so I feel good that we did this today so that people are more aware of it, because it does seem to me that a lot of people would benefit from having this service, and particularly in the mental health realm, where a lot of calls may be made on behalf of the person or by the person themselves. Oh, that's a question though. So say the 911 call was from someone else, the person's emergency health information is not going to be populated from that, right?
And I'm sorry, they call for someone else.
Yeah. So let's say that there's a staff member in a home and they call 911. That person that they're calling about is not necessarily their information is not going to populate under that circumstance, unless of course that other person has also entered that emergency health profile.
No, so that number, so your profile is attached to a number.
I got you.
It's attached to a number, and of course, we look at in 2018, up to 2018, about 95% of households still had some type of landline. After 2018, that decreased to less than 40%. So most people are using cell phones. Your profile is attached to your cell phone number. That's how we get that information. So that cell phone has to dial, and that profile attached to that cell phone number, the profile will then be shared.
Is there any way for the dispatcher to access that emergency health profile besides having a 911 call made from that phone?
There's absolutely not.
Okay.
That's the privacy part of it.
That's the privacy part of it, but it's also maybe a little bit of a drawback in one way, because if I'm a caregiver it's not going to populate for my phone, but only for the person's phone,
And,
or
and
only for the phone that I designate for that purpose.
correct. And we look at, if you have a caregiver there, they should have that information, they should have the knowledge of, what's going on with you, your medical background. Um, but this is just in case, if you're alone and you can't communicate, or if you're alone and you're in, you have some type of mental health crises. And that information, if people feel comfortable sharing that, because again, it's what you feel comfortable with sharing. And it gives more insight as to what may be going on if you can't communicate. And that's the big thing. If you cannot communicate, with a telecommunicator. So, and like I said, we've had what we call saves on there. And it's just, yeah, it's a free resource, and um, definitely it's a valuable resource.
Use the word saves there.
And
Can you tell me more about what you mean by that, saves? So that's a circumstance where you got information and you were able to help. Is that what you mean by that?
correct, that information came through. The caller was unable to talk, but because of their profile, um, the telecommunicator said, "Hey, this may be going on." They're on the phone. They can hear them with background noises and movement. They're not communicating. And based on what they had in their profile, it matched up to, okay, this may be what I'm hearing. So I'm sending an ambulance to their location, with the police. And so that's a big thing, versus if you just need the police or you need an ambulance, or when that information, like I say, is available and is appropriate for that particular situation.
Uh-huh. Okay. So Patrice, I think I interrupted you because I think Babs was asking about you sharing some information about how to sign up. And I jumped right in the middle of that, which I don't like to do, but give you a second to share that.
Okay, let's see here.
If you're having any technical, oh, there you go. You got it. Never mind.
So I can't tell what is
I think if you go up to the tabs at the top, you can click on the tab that has your information on it. So
yeah, I can't. It's a little different from one. Let me see here. Okay, I see now.
there you go.
There we go. So sign up is at emergencyprofile.org. Again, this is through Rapid SOS. Rapid SOS is a company. I don't work for Rapid SOS. I work for Metro Nashville Department of Emergency Communications. However, we are Rapid SOS is a partner. Like I said, we utilize Rapid SOS within our center. The emergency profile is a part of Rapid SOS, and their website again is emergencyprofile.org. As you see, supporters of the emergency profile, emergency health profile, the American Heart Association, the American Red Cross, and Direct Relief. And so, these, of course, are organizations that are supporting this profile and the sharing of information. Again, sign up is for free. It's free. Just a little bit about the website. If you go on the website, it tells you exactly what emergency profile is, and it's, sharing critical information about your health, pre-existing health information. In the event of emergency, if that phone dials 911, that information is shared, and your profile is automatically sent to 911 through Rapid SOS. So we don't have this information unless your phone dials 911. And again, it has FAQs, of course. how's your information protected? The big one. And it shows how it's collected and how it's maintained with a link to their privacy policy. A question, if I don't have a mobile number, do I have to sign up or do I have to sign up with my mobile phone number? Again, yes, we talk about how this is mobile and a lot of people we don't have many calls from landlines anymore. Um, so how is your data sent to 911? All of this, all of the questions, some of the questions that we've gone through, is securely stored in your emergency health profile. And when you call, it's the phone number associated with that particular profile. And then the technology we have on this end, which is Rapid SOS, that information comes through and is available to the telecommunicator to make a better decision, to make a more informed decision because of information that's available. Here, does this work everywhere? So again, just to reiterate, this is shared with centers who are using Rapid SOS. And so I knew it was right at 5,000, it's 4,700. So Rapid SOS works with over 4,700 emergency communication centers in the US. That's 4,700. So, just depending on where you are and if that's available within the center. And quite a few centers, I don't know exactly how many, but quite a few centers in Tennessee use Rapid SOS. It tells you how often you need to update your information. Someone spoke about Smart 911, which that was a every 6-month thing. So it's just, and this is every 6 months or when something changes. But definitely if nothing changes, you want to go in every 6 months and, just look at your information and say, hey, it's good. But here you go, a long list of answers to questions that you may have.
Frequently asked questions. So
Yep,
this, I would
frequently
encourage
asked
people, and this was all at emergencyprofile.org.
Correct, emergencyprofile.org.
And that link was placed in the chat. Babs, do we have any other questions that we need to respond to?
We have one that's been posted a couple times. Can you list more than one phone number with the same account?
So you can put the same account information on different phone numbers. I'm not, or I think the question is, can you make one profile and put multiple phone numbers? I'm actually not sure of that because we haven't had that. It's normally one profile and it can be the same profile, but attached to 2 different phone numbers in 2 separate accounts, if that makes sense. So that's one I'll have to double check on, but that's a good question. And I can find that out and get that information back to you so you can pass that along.
Okay. I have an account for myself and my family. And one thing that I found that was important is there's a narrative section where you can list information about different people in your home. So when you're talking about you call 911 and it only shows your profile, the narrative section, like I include information about my oldest son and then my youngest son who has a seizure disorder. So you can include information about other people who might be around you when you call 911, because highly likely I'm not going to be calling for myself. I'd be calling for someone that I'm caring for. And so that information can be included in the narrative.
That is absolutely correct, Babs. And even in the narrative, you can say with a minor child, if it's a child that's old enough to be home by themselves, but of course, a minor, you can even put contact, blah, 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 whatever that is that you want for the center to contact you. So yeah, there is a narrative section.
Were there any other questions, Pat?
I do have one other question.
Come on.
Okay. Patrice, would you say that it's a safe bet that if you didn't know about Yellow Dot, being the authority that you are on this, that there might be first responders who don't know about the program? And if that's the case, because I know there are some people who have signed up for it thinking that if 911 responders show up because it is, a state law mandating it, and they put a yellow dot on their vehicle and have a yellow dot folder in their vehicle, they have to go through a process where they go and sign up for this and take a photo and all this sort of thing. they're assuming that first responders would know about it. So if you don't, and I know that you are the authority, so I'm wondering if they might not know. And if that's the case, would you like for me to send you some information? I don't know if you ever have opportunities where they could, learn about certain things, but if you would like that information, I'll be glad to send it to you if it would be helpful.
I would absolutely love for you to send that information. I had not heard about yellow dots, and sometimes we find out, yeah, again, like you said, it's about sharing of information,
Yes,
like
absolutely. It happens all the time. So I'll be glad to send that to you if you would just put your email in the
I
chat.
will put my email in the chat.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tony, if you don't mind, include me on that email string as well. I'd like to learn more about that also.
Sure, I'll be glad to. And I will be letting people know um, about this so that they will know that there's another way that they can also get help in these emergency situations. So I will be letting them know.
Excellent. This is a network. That's what's so great about it. We got a whole
Yes,
network working on things
I
here.
love networking.
Definitely.
So Patrice has put her email address in the chat box, patrice.coleman@nashville.gov. Patrice, we appreciate you so much being on here today and sharing this information. This is such important information for so many of the folks that we serve who have often, a lot of emergency calls. And so this seems like something that would really be helpful, I think, to a lot of the people we serve. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you again for giving me the time to be here again. Emergencyprofile.org. Very, very valuable tool, and it's free. Again, getting the word out is just exciting. I'm very passionate about anything that will help us provide a better response to those needing a response, an emergency response. And also, before I forget, Bruce, one thing about me that I was supposed to share and I didn't share.
Well, I was wondering if it was about your family was your interesting fact. So I didn't probe further, but if you please do share your interesting fact with us.
So I will. So one interesting fact that's totally not related to my profession. I am a licensed Zumba instructor. So
A licensed what instructor?
Zumba instructor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So so we could contact you also if we need more exercise.
Yeah, just contact me.
Okay, well, that's great. I probably do need to contact you, although I probably need a few more weeks of recovery from my knee replacement before I get going.
Yeah.
But listen, I appreciate you so much. Appreciate your partnership with us, and I hope you will consider us a partner. And we are going to, in some sort of honorary way, say you are our 200th presenter here. So thank you for being
Yes.
here with us. And
Thank
thank all. I appreciate all of our audience too, who comes every week at 12:30 Central Time, and to join us for the Clinical Consultation Network. Join us again next week. We've got another fascinating presentation. Thank you all so much.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.